going out to talk to Richard Fleming, who is the Rapids, and correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but you are the play-by-play guy, and you're one of the best in the business. Am I correct?
You are right on both counts there, yes.
Because when we talked to you before, I said, I just love your play-by-play. Richard, I'm going to start out with the toughest question you're going to get. How in the world does a team get this far into the season and have one victory at home?
If I could answer that, I probably wouldn't be play-by-play. I'd probably be head coach of the U.S. national side. I'd have a lot more knowledge than I do. It's a tough one, and I think it's something that the players and the coaching staff are only too well aware of, that the home form at altitude is something that they've got to be better at. They've got to take advantage of, and they've got to start that tonight against Dallas, because we can discuss of how near games have been and how unfortunate they've been. We're 14 games into the season now. This time, in 8 days' time, they'll be playing their 17th game of the season. That's the midway point of the 34-game regular season. And so, as players are fully aware, this is where they need to be picking up the maximum points of the 3 points. And if they pick up bonus points on the road, that's a plus. But it's the home form that has got to improve. And people will look back and they'll say, well, it was a little slip up there and a missed opportunity there. And normally you can say that over 1 or 2 games. Over 17 home games, you need to be coming out on top in maybe a dozen of those. And the Rapids are simply not doing it at home at the moment.
This Rapids Report with Richard Fleming is sponsored by the Celtic Tavern, and I will tell you more about the Celtic in just a moment.
Richard, this is what I want to know. I've watched Dylan Cerna and Shane O'Neill play soccer since they were about 12 years old. Mm-hmm. What are their current roles with the Rapids, and why don't I see them on the pitch more?
Another good question, and I think it's one that the media and the fans are scratching their heads about, and particularly Shane, who came back voted third best player at the U23 tournament in Toulon in France. Defensively, I think it's an easier argument to see why Shane isn't maybe getting the minutes, because defensively the Rapids have been relatively solid. And Shane has been away on national duty, and he's come back, and obviously trying to break into a defense that is standing relatively strong. Offensively, I think Dylan Cerna has got a stronger case as to maybe why he's not got more minutes, and particularly when he has come on. The 4-0 win at Dallas, he got that absolute thunderbolt, which was the MLS goal of the week. And he played on Tuesday, played the full 90 minutes against Colorado Springs Switchbacks and got 2 goals and an assist. And that's the sort of thing you want from your players, is that when they're not playing and they are then given a chance for them to shine. Both Shane and Dylan Cerna played on Tuesday. Both of them have played plenty of soccer this season. Defensively, as I say, I think it's a little easier. Although, there was the stat last season that when Shane played, the Rapids rarely lost a game. He's a young talent. He's a wonderful talent. That's a tougher one. I think Dylan certainly needs to be knocking on the door, and both of them have been. Why they've not been given the minutes? Again, it's a coaching decision, but it's a bit of a mystery as to why they're not maybe getting more minutes than they have been so far this season. Having spoken to both of the players, they do admit openly that it has been frustrating, but they just have to keep plugging away, making the coach aware of their situation, and hoping that they get their chance. And when they do, they've got to grab it.
Rapids play at home tonight against FC Dallas, and I think the game starts at 7. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Richard?
That is correct. Yeah.
Final question. We had Kevin Doyle here a couple of weeks ago. Just a delightful man, great player in his past. We were waiting for the 2 additions to the Rapids so that the Rapids, we would think, would increase their scoring with these strikers. We really haven't seen it. And Doyle told us that getting adjusted to the altitude was a little bit more than he had anticipated. Are we seeing them fit into the lineup more as we get into close to July here?
Well, I think you had the heat with that altitude, and bearing in mind he's an Irishman that's come from. He's been used to playing soccer during the fall and winter and early spring. So not only the altitude but also the heat is going to be an issue that he's going to contend with. here's a guy that's been brought in as a designated player, and fans want to see him play. Fans want to see him out in the middle. There have been question marks as to whether a 4-2-3-1 necessarily suits his style, and particularly with Solignac up top and Doyle tucking just behind. There have been people suggesting maybe you go to a 4-4-2 formation, so that's 4 defenders, 4 midfield players, and 2 up top with Solignac alongside Kevin Doyle, and that's potentially an option. But I think also you've got to look at the style that the Rapids have played this season. We come back to them being very resolute defensively. They are a very difficult side to break down. Not always the most attractive going forward, but they're a very difficult side to break down. They've got to find a way to bring Kevin Doyle and Louis Solignac in so that they are more effective offensively. And maybe tonight against a side in FC Dallas that have struggled over the last few weeks. 1 goal in the last 5 games for these guys. They have got a few key players back, but this is a chance for the Rapids going into 2 very, very tough games. Away at Orlando next Wednesday, and then away at Sporting Kansas City a week on Saturday. So 2 tough games. This tonight, another chance to get big points at home, and this is where they are going to either the home form will determine, not the road points that they have been picking up, as I said at the beginning. They are the bonus points. Teams are playoff contenders or out of the playoff race based purely on their home form, and the Rapids have got to pick up points, maximum points, and it's certainly got to start tonight, and Doyle will be a key figure if they're going to be successful.
Richard Fleming, the play-by-play voice for the Colorado Rapids on Altitude Sports. You'll be able to watch him tonight. He is my favorite play-by-play guy in Denver because I really have to try to understand everything he says, both because of his accent and because of his knowledge. That is a compliment, Richard.
Thank you very much.
I hope to see you in studio soon. Thank you for joining us always.
Take care.
All right. This Colorado Rapids report is presented by the Celtic Tavern, official sponsor of the Colorado Rapids. The Celtic provides a bus to every Colorado Rapids home game. What does that mean? They're playing tonight, so you can go over there at 5 o'clock and tailgate 2 hours before kickoff. Celtic is located just by Coors Field. You can park right along there, right in front of the Celtic, and the Delaney next door. It's one of my favorite. It is my favorite place downtown because they have 250 whiskeys, and I am going to try before I die to taste each and every one of them.
Well, you need to invite.
Not in